Content creator that was out here the other day, a YouTube content creator. His name's JD Delay. Do you know who that is? Bigger beard was out here. Yeah. Seen he got into a few little things out here.
Oh yeah, him.
Yeah.
That man has been askewed somehow because he believes that everyone is out to get him, which is really wrong. Because albeit people will yell at him or try and have a discourse with him, his usual reaction to that is adverse, like hostility. You know, just like, you guys are here to fight me or to destroy America and so forth. It doesn't seem like he has any form of argument or conversation in mind, just to be annoying. Like most of these guys, you can counter-protest. That is a freedom of expression, and anyone is allowed to do that. But when you counter-protest with the idea in mind to end the other protest, that is not expression. That is hatred.
Buenos dias, Gunners Collective TV. Back at it, you already know. Like a torta with some bad habits. Bye up, bye up. Let's get to the intro. Welcome back to the channel, and if you haven't already hit that like and subscribe button, make sure you go ahead and do that. Put your notification bell on all so that way you're directed in the direction of the dope content that the gun stays kicking. And I appreciate all the support. I'm very humbled. So why was JD Delay treated differently from me at the Portland Detention Center protest, the ICE protest? Why was he treated different? You know, I'll tell you this, JD Delay, I know him. Okay, we've had interactions over the phone, conversations, great conversations, very informational, very educational conversations. And I like the narrative he's pushing. Do I agree with everything every man says? Absolutely not. And I'm sure he feels the same way about me and some of the things I say and do. But at the same time, man, you treat a man how he treats you. And ultimately, that ends with the word and begins with the word respect. Okay, now I seen JD Delay went out there to the detention center protests, and I was all for seeing a content creator of that caliber going out there, expressing his opinions, and kind of doing kind of what I did when I went out there, and that's getting to the gist of what's going on. You know, you see all these things on big time media, and you kind of question their ability to have interaction with people and to be trusted enough on the streets and respected enough to be given the correct answers. Now, JD Delay definitely went there. He had bodyguards with him. Of course, I understand when you're going to what is considered a hostile situation, ground zero, war zone, right? Like it's being put out there, that you have to go fully prepared, especially as a content creator that's kind of controversial. There might be idiots, fools, people that feel they want to get boisterous and extra loud just because of who you are and they know your platform. So as I seen JD Delay go out there, I seen he was trying to question people. It seemed like he was being charismatic. He was being respectful, and he got a lot of hatred. He got a lot of backlash. He actually got ran up on, and a lot of people had a lot to say because the observation that I seen was that they automatically, because of his look, the way he looks with his beard and his hats and his bravado and his, you know, his charisma, that they thought he was a proud boy or he was part of an agenda. Now, I don't know JD Delay's political views, nor do I care about his political views, because I respect him as a man, as someone who was going out there on a journalistic tip and trying to get down to the bottom of what's feeding this frenzy. Now, I did the same thing, and I was treated much different. Okay, I noticed a lot of little things, man, that I haven't really put out there that I'm going to put out there right now. When I seen JD Delay's interactions, I think just based upon his appearance, people automatically judged him. There's a lot of judgmental people at that detention center protest. When I went the first time, I was wearing a basic sweater, a denim tier sweater, a beanie. My face was exposed. I was out there, didn't know what I was stepping into, but I was out there to hear some good and great conversations and to kind of find out the temperament of what everyone was going. I wanted to check temperatures. And it was a lot of pretty good interactions. Now, I did not see what big time media is pushing. I did not see chaos and anarchy. These are not things that I seen. I seen a lot of people gathered around fighting the good fight. Some on one side of the aisle fighting against ICE and some fighting for it. Okay, at the end of the day, no matter what you truly believe in, no matter what your political views are, I am not here to sway you or change your mind. I have my beliefs. I'm independent. I believe that all people should be respected and given a chance, but also I understand the rule of law. So I'm not here to say deport people and lock people up and separate them from their families, but I'm also not here to go out in the streets and act a fool and burn American flags and scream and argue with authority just because they're doing their job. That's not me. I'm not mad at an ICE agent, or I'm not mad at the system because of what's going on, because I truly am informed and educated enough to know that this has been going on for a long time. It just hasn't been put front and center until now. So now we're seeing it in HD, but it's always happened. All our people, the raza, the African American community, the low income white community, all these different entities and ethnicities, man, have been going through different stages of, hatred, different stages of, they fuck with us. And that's just the truth. But at the end of the day, man, you have to be a man. You have to keep your composure. You have to educate yourself enough to understand, man, that this has been going on and it's going to continue to go on. And there isn't too much we can do about it. Now, what's going on in Portland is a bunch of youngsters that are taking the initiative to go out there and act a fool. That's what I've seen. But it's not as bad as some would say. So JD DeLay goes out there and immediately he's judged based on appearance, and he was even called a Proud Boy. Now, I don't know, according to JD DeLay, he has nothing to do with that group, but he was judged just based on appearance. And so, with that being said, things circulate around there. I talked to Dubs and he told me something pretty good. And he says, a lot of those guys know each other. See, they're there night after night after night, and they do. People start to get known based on their fights. You got the Chicken Man. You got people dressing up. You got people like Tommy, who's out there knocking everything out, moving, right? If they disrespect them. These different groups on one side and the other side, whether it's the Patriots and Maga or it's Antifa and independent people that are going out there to protest, what you have is a lot of interaction, a lot of conversation. These guys know who each other is. Whether they like you or not, they know, okay, that guy's on that side, I'm on this side, and that's that, right? So when someone different comes, like JD DeLay or myself, automatically guards go up. Now with JD DeLay, I noticed that a lot of guards went up even more. And I think it's because a lot of people see him on YouTube, and for whatever reason, they feel that he's the type of person that antagonizes, but he's not like that. In real life, JD DeLay is a very cool individual, someone who's been locked up, who has did his time, who is reformed, who is out there trying to help people, but stands on what he believes. The wood chipper stuff, the pedo stuff, he stands on what he believes, not giving them guys a grain of motherfucking salt to chew on, right? I respect it. I agree. Okay, I think we are the same when it comes to that. Throw him in the wood chipper, brother, right? But when it comes to political stances, I am not quite sure where JD DeLay stands. I understand that he is trying to bring you guys the best news that he can and do his job the best way that he can. And sometimes it's going to hurt hearts and hurt feelings, but that's just the way of the world. You have to get over that. Get over the hump. Have an understanding and be man enough or woman enough to understand everything ain't going to go to your way all the time. You're going to have disagreements, but you got to be able to be educated enough to agree to disagree, to step away, to walk away, to show that you're more man than them. You have to do it, right? Now, I was treated much different. People seen me, and I don't know if it was my expression, the way I talked, the respect I showed, because if you noticed in my videos, it was always an excuse me when I walked past a person, no matter what they were pushing. I don't care if they had makeup on and a skirt and a big beard, right? It was always excuse me, because that's just common courtesy. That's respect. That's manners, right? With JD DeLay, it wasn't that he was confrontational. It seemed more like people were confrontational with him. But when you just walk up on people and start asking questions immediately, they're going to put their guard up and they're going to be a little defensive. That's just how it is, right? Now, with me, my approach was just a little bit more different. And I think myself and JD put out some very great content to show you guys the realities of what's going on. Now, of course, he's a bigger channel. He's got more eyes. This is more his lane. So he got a lot more views. In comparison, I thought I did some great interviews. I thought I got down to the brass tacks of a lot. I thought I was able to bring you all different angles of all different sides and to keep it real. You know, one thing I noticed, and I'm going to put this in the description and the title, is that the Portland police officers were playing sides. No disrespect to the Portland police officers out there doing their thing, but it seemed like they were more comfortable, more, that's the word to use. They were just a lot more comfortable to reason with or to be around the Patriots and the Maga side. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say one way or the other, man, if that was the agenda, if they're on that side to push that narrative. But I'll say when they were around the Antifa guys, and some people are saying there's no such thing as the group Antifa, it's just a political ideal, some idealisms, anti-fascist, whatever. There were guys with Antifa shirts on, proud Antifa member. So it is what it is. I'm only telling you what I see and not what I know, right? But I noticed when I would be on the Patriots side to interview them or to just converse or to kind of see what was going on, because I was, well, you're just not welcomed over there. With the Patriots and the Maga, they're skeptical. They also are defensive, and they want to know if you're in there trying to start chaos, fights, pushing agendas. So they were looking at me kind of harsh. But after I shook hands, talked to a few of them, let them understand that I am an independent. I support my people, brown people, to the fucking fullest. But at the end of the day, I'm not going to sit there and call them racist or call them prejudiced against my people unless they say it to my face. And then I'm going to say something to their face. And then we're going to do it like that, face to face. I'm not going to go behind their backs and talk shit after I had good conversations with them. And that same thing goes for the Antifa, the LGBT community that was out there. Everybody, man, I showed everybody their respect because they treated me good. Now, we had one incident. I'm going to get to that. So, with that being said, I noticed when the officers were posted up on the Antifa side, or I call it the Antifa side because that's, let's just say the protesters that are anti-ICE, they're anti-Donald Trump, they're anti-establishment and government. These guys, the cops were a little harsh to them. They were walking around, cops were mean mugging, shoulder shrugging. And maybe that's because of the interaction them guys have had with law enforcement. Every time that the feds would come out, the National Guard, any type of law enforcement, these guys would be in their face. They'd be screaming. They'd be yelling. They'd be calling them cowards and bitches and punks and all that. So, of course, they're going to feel some type of way. Now, on the other side, you have guys that are pro-law enforcement, pro-rule of law. So maybe that was it. It had nothing to do with racism or prejudice or we hate these Mexicans or blacks or whatever. It had nothing to do with that. It more so was like, these guys over here are treating us with the respect we feel we deserve, while these guys over here are calling us cowards and bitches and trying to fight us. That's just the truth. That's what I seen. Now, it's not as heavy as you think it is. Meaning there's not thousands of people out there, war-ravaged war zone. It was nothing like that. It looked more of like a kind of a street venue, a festival, people out there. Some people were barbecuing, some people were listening to music, some people were having a good time. Now, there are some things that I seen also that is not putting out there by big time media that I'm going to expose right now. They had a guy who looked like a Fed. He looked like he was working for the federal government, just his mannerisms, the what he was wearing. And he's sitting on this corner and he has this big speaker and he's playing different music. Oh, real loud as he can play it. And it's not to hype the crowd, but more so what it is to do is for content creators like myself, JD Delay, and everyone who's out there trying to do lives, trying to bring you guys news. It is to get them copyrighted, is to mess up their streams. That's what it is being put out there for. That's the agenda. They don't want people to see what's really actually going on. Who's the they? I don't know. There's two sides of they and maybe many more. So there could be a third entity, a third they that we don't know about, the one who's really running this world. I'm just saying I want to get caught up in that mix. But I noticed that. I also noticed the presence of the Portland police. They were not antagonizing the situation, but they were not stopping any of the fights. They were not paying attention to it. If you're going to throw down in the middle of the street, they'll let you handle your business, and they're letting the feds arrest you and pull you into the detention center. This is what was going on Basically, the Portland police were out there saying, hey, do what you guys got to do. If there's no law enforcement enforcing law, then what are they there for? That's just my question. Another thing is, if you notice when I was streaming, if I was on one side of the road, it was pretty good. I was in HD, high definition. But the moment that I walked over to the other side of the road, my shit got scrambled. It was all bad. Everybody thought I was on the Obama phone, right? Everyone thought I was on the Joe Biden shit your pants phone. Everybody thought I was on the Trump fight phone, but I'm not. I'm actually on one of the best phones, the Samsung 25. But I noticed, and I did it for a reason. Every time I went in certain places, it would scramble up on me. That let me know that they're walking around or they have placed jammers out there for the exact reason to kind of mess up the streaming that is going on. Again, that's another way so people like myself that are really out there putting out the real news, not the world news that is giving you the fakery, but the gun who's giving you the funkery, right? The funky shit. I'm out there doing that. They're jamming us up. Now, as far as JD Delay goes, I showed you in the beginning, man, how the Antifa idealism guy felt about JD Delay. Now, I'm not sure if he knew who JD was exactly, or if he had him mixed up with somebody else, because it seemed kind of, going back and listening to the conversation, he might have had him mixed up with someone. But that is kind of the idealism of what people are thinking about JD Delay when he went down there. And it was so unfortunate because that is a guy who produces great content. He wasn't able to bring us the best content he probably could have if people were more susceptible and open to conversation and dialogue. But it's not like that. There's a lot of people, once they see you based on appearance, they will shut you down. There was 2 reasons why I wore a mask the next day. One was to cover my face because they have people up there, feds, taking pictures, and I don't want facial recognition. I don't want my name to come up on a database. It's probably already there because of things I've said. Also, because of my beard, I'm growing out. I didn't want certain sides to judge me and think I was part of something I wasn't, like they did JD Delay, calling him a Proud Boy, when I'm sure he might have some type of association as far as had conversations with these guys, but I don't think he has any affiliation. Association and affiliation are 2 different words. You got to look them up, right? Now, I'm getting a lot of backlash, a lot of love, a lot of hatred about the Spider-Man thing. I did a video on it. Look, I apologize to the masses and to the people for the content of my character. I let this guy get into let me get emotional, right, over it. I wanted to beat his fucking ass, right? That's just plain and simple. And a lot of people saying I antagonize the situation. And there's a lot. It's funny because all the people that are on the left are saying I antagonize the situation, and all the people that are on the right are saying, no, Gunner, you did the right thing. Why does it have to be like that? Why can't a person forget the left and forget the right and just be real and tell it how it is? Whether you feel I antagonized it or not, I can sit here and tell you, man, his facial expressions, him getting beat up at the end of the night, and all these things he was doing antagonized that situation. But again, just like JD Delay, he was judged. Now he was judging me based on appearance of my sweater and what it said. And he found out the hard way that I ain't going to be pressed back. I'm going to press forward. I'll say this. Leave that where it's at. I've moved on. But why was I treated differently from JD Delay? Why was I received well? And people were out there giving me hugs while JD Delay was getting mean mugs and shoulder shrugs. I think it's all about an agenda. I think it's all about the way you carry yourself with people and how people feel. I'm not a man better than JD Delay. In fact, I consider him a friend, a good dude, someone who's always treated me with respect and showed me love, and I've done likewise. But there is a narrative being pushed out there, and when you feel a certain way and you've said things on the internet, that carries weight, and people will see you, remember you from what you've said, and judge you on it. It's a very temperamental situation out there. It's not as crazy as you guys think, but there are people that feel they're pretty adamant about their beliefs. You got to respect it. I don't hate a person because they want to deport my gente. I don't hate the people that want to go out there and throw firebombs and fucking and rocks and whatever. Look, there's better ways to handle and get things done. And that starts with conversation and education. But until you do that, nothing's going to change. The more you go out there and act a fool, the more you're going to get foolish results. That's just what I've learned. So I don't know why JD Delay was treated different. What we seen on camera, is what we seen. Was he getting He seems aggressive, but he's actually a very cool person. Sometimes you have to have this persona of aggression to get things done. But in a situation like that, you have to play your cards right. Anyways, why was he treated different? One thing that he wasn't treated different is he dropped his video of his confrontation with an Antifa member. He did 1 million views. I had a confrontation. I did 4,000 views. We see who everyone likes and who everyone doesn't. It's all right, man. I got love for everybody. And that's what it's going to be like. Thumbs up or thumbs down. Heavy's going to be the head that wears the crown. I'm going to continue to strive, struggle, and strive for what I truly believe in. That's the betterment of all people. Remember, this video is being sponsored by Vario Liquors out there in Turlock County, California. If you're ever in the area of the Central Valley of Turlock, go tap into the Vario, man. Go tell the owner, Lolly, I send mines.